You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show.
Yes, it's the Finnish Football Show. I'm Mark Wiltshire and I'm here today with Rich Nelson. Hi, Rich.
Hey.
And Ali Manson. Hi, Ali.
Moika.
And we've got a bumper match report episode where we're going to look back at Finland's two Euro 2024 qualifiers, where the Huuhkajat gained 2 wins and 2 clean sheets to build a nice position at the top of the qualifying group on goal difference. So there was a 2-0 win against Slovenia, and they followed that up with a very commanding 6-0 win against San Marino. And we'll look back at both those games, give our own perspectives and opinions, and then maybe right at the end we'll discuss who might be the star player of the weekend. I don't think there'll be too much arguing about that. But if you guys are ready, the referee's blown his whistle, and off we go. And let's start with Finland 2, Slovenia 0. This was on Friday, 16th of June. And Rich, give us lead us into this game.
This was on paper one of those games that was quite divisive on paper, in that you had two teams that were very closely matched, both on the tables. Slovenia had won their first 2 fixtures, and both teams went into it on 6 points. And this was one of those ones that kind of Finland will have looked at and thought, this is one that they need to win if they're going to come in the top 2 in the group. And already we're looking at this group as very similar to the one that Finland qualified from for Euro 2020. Not the fact, withstanding the fact that they actually have the same record at this point as well. But this was like that Bosnia game in that competition when they won 2-0 in Tampere. And this one, it's a 2-0 victory, which, to be fair, Slovenia did give Finland a good game, certainly for the first, probably till the second goal, I think. Slovenia had, I wouldn't say arguably the better of the first half, as Finland were leading 1-0, but they were threatening. They had a lot of sort of possession in the Finland half. They didn't have a lot of shots, but they were definitely looking sort of like they could be quite dangerous. And we saw, I think just after half time, Hradecky made a very, very good save down to his right with a score at 1-0. And the fact that Finland have come out of this game with Pohjanpalo and Ant-Man scoring again, it just kind of makes that statement of intent, really, that Finland are now in the front runners for this group. And I'm talking both before and after the San Marino game. But it was a fairly close game. The goals were well taken. Again, Pukki, in assisting both of these at this point, had assisted all 4 goals that Finland had scored without scoring one. And it shows perhaps the evolution of the way that he's playing. We talked about in the last episode about how he's not the player he was 3 or 4 years ago. And if he's turning into this more sort of, say, withdrawn, but he's more of a provider than a finisher. He doesn't have that pace. But Pohjanpalo's in amazing form. And Ant-Man, that was his 4th Finland goal in 5 games. So there's a lot of potential here, and a bit of evolution, bit of revolution going on. But Mark, you were there. What was the atmosphere like?
The atmosphere was amazing, really. It's what we've kind of come to expect in recent years since we've been traveling down for home games, and we had our tickets in Pohjois-Karre, and in the last couple of games, Satu and I have got, well, you reserve your seats for what good that does you, and we sort of positioned ourselves right in the back row with the wall behind us, and it's quite high up. We've got a good view, and this time we were almost right behind the goal. It was a cracking spot, and of course, all of the the rest of the Pohjois-Karjala away to our left, and we got there early and thought, oh, let's just go up and get our spot, because once you're in, everyone else will fill in around you, and you've got your spot. So we went up there and sort of took some drinks and got in there, and the atmosphere was amazing. And looking around and seeing 32,700 people, almost all of them wearing white, like a sea of white going around that whole stadium, was unbelievable. I tried to pay more attention to the game this time, because in the past I found myself getting a little bit. I find I'm focusing too much on what words to sing and not enough on what's actually going on the on the pitch. So it was. I thought, like you, that we played well, but Slovenia always had the ability to create a half chance at least. And I think, looking at the stats, they had something like 14 shots and 7 off target and 3 on target, and the rest were sort of blocked. But it felt like, oh, we need to be a bit careful here, and we were careful, but in so much as we didn't let any in. But there was always those opportunities there. Maybe we should go back a little bit to the team selection as well, because in the previous couple of games, Finland started with this 4-4-2, but it changed for this game, and we exchanged some messages beforehand. So there was this kind of 3-5-2, 5-3-2, however that works out, with Alho and Niskanen as sort of wing backs, and Jensen, Ivanov, and Hoskonen as 3 central defenders. And I felt that would give us more going forward. There was Antman, Schuler, and Kairinen in the midfield, and then Pukki and Pohjanpalo up front, with obviously Luke Radetzky in goal at the back. Ali, what did you think about no Glenn Kamara?
Yeah, I mean, it was a talking point, wasn't it, on the WhatsApp group before? I think we're just so used to him starting and him being such a, big player for the team. We just sort of take it as read that he'll slot in there. I mean, it was interesting to bring him out. Of course, it looks good when you win. If we'd lost, it would have been a totally different conversation. But I think you're always going to miss a player like Glenn Kamara in this team, particularly when, we're so used, and the players are so used to him playing. But I think, that middle three of Schuler, Karinen, and Antman, they did well. And I think also, out of possession, Pukki almost sort of tucked back in onto the right a little bit more as well. So he sort of added maybe a little bit of more cover. I mean, I'm not too much. I don't think him going backwards and his defensive work is ever going to be, his greatest attributes. But yeah, as I said earlier, I think it worked just about. I think in the second half, we were sort of happier to give possession up a little bit more when Slovenia started to get back into the game. And obviously that's when you need someone like Kamara to be, in the middle of the park. But I'm not overly concerned, but I think that's purely because of the result. And also he started the next game and played well. So an experiment that paid off, let's put it that way.
I think the fact that he hadn't had many minutes for Rangers in the build-up to this, and Kairinen had come off winning the title with Sparta Prague. I mean, him and Schuller were excellent, really, really good together. I mean, Schuller's been the last couple of years. I mean, so pretty much since Tim Spar's retired, Schuller's really, really stepped up. But I mean, that was probably Kairinen's best Finland game so far. Certainly the most important performance he put in. And I think that really showed that, because I think there's always that kind of panic. We're so used to Schuller and Kamara now that when Kamara doesn't play, and there's obviously a reason behind it. And Riva said at one point that he's barely played for Rangers in the last 6 months. And again, with the benefit of hindsight, yes, it worked. But he made the decision, and it turned out to be the right one, because the two of them played really, very well together.
Rich, you mentioned earlier that Joel Bokenpalo scored again. Talk us through the goal a little bit. Explain what actually happened.
I mean, it was Pukki finding some space on the right hand side, and cutting across, and it was the kind of goal that you expect Poyampalo to score. It was the one he was pretty regularly scoring in Germany on the occasions he got to play. I mean, very ready for Leverkusen, but he was sort of making those runs in towards the near post, but angling it past the goalkeeper, through his legs, actually, wasn't it?
Mm.
And it was just one of those goals that, you know, a few years ago it would have been, you know, Pukki being on the end of it, but now Pukki's evolved into that assister now. And again, of all those players in that squad on current form, Poyampalo's the one you'd want on the end of it. And to be honest, it was 13 minutes into the game, I think it was.
Yeah.
That was really what Finland needed, because on a number of occasions, Finland have kind of done well in a game. It's got to half time at 0-0, but getting that early goal, it meant that they had something to kind of hold on to. It gave Slovenia an excuse to come out a little bit, open the game up a bit, and just getting on that score sheet early. We're so used in the past anyway, Finland kind of going in and either leaving it late or not at all. But you know, this game, and I think Northern Ireland, I think the goal there came before the half-hour mark of that game. So it's something, you know, it's a nice thing to see, is getting on the score sheet early. But yeah, it was a really well taken goal, and this is Poyampalo kind of in the form of his life, really. And this was really nice to see, you know, a crucial goal for Finland. And I think that was 13th or 14th for Finland now. So again, you know, the age he's at, was he 27? I think he is. You know, this is when he really should be cementing himself as that regular centre forward.
Ali, the second goal came in the 64th minute from Antman. Talk us through that goal a little bit.
Yeah, so again, Pukki managed to find a pocket of space, probably about 35, 40 yards out. And the thing that I really like about this goal, again, you know, we were just talking about Poyampalo, but he was really crucial to this goal as well, because his run dragged the defenders away and created the space, not only for Pukki to take that extra touch, but to create space for Antman as well.
He almost ran across Pukki, didn't he? Sort of
yeah,
across
he
his
did.
line.
Yeah, it's one of those runs that, you know, they train time and time again, and because the defenders, they have to go with the runner. It's just that they can't just let the runner go. They have to make a decision, and they have to go with the runner. So it was really smart play, not only just from Pukki to hold on to the ball, but also from Poyampalo to make that run. And then, yeah, obviously Antman held his run, stayed on side, and a really good finish into the corner. And yeah, it was on I think the 64th, 65th minute. And I think, yeah, either yourself or Rich alluded to it earlier, just a really important, really crucial time of the match to get that second goal, because just as Slovenia was starting to get a bit of a foothold in the game, we go and score that goal. And then, yeah, I think you could see that Slovenia knew that it was going to be an uphill battle from then.
Yeah, I think for both goals, actually, the Slovenia goalkeeper will be a bit disappointed. Like the first one, gone through his legs. Okay, it's from fairly close range, but still, it goes through your legs. And the second one, he got a hand to it.
Yeah,
quite a big hand, but a weak hand, and it sort of still found its way into the bottom corner. But I don't care.
Yeah.
everyone went mad, and drinks went up in the air, and someone's drink went down the back of my legs from the section behind, and chaos ensued.
Was there a little bit of sort of tension where you were, well, not sitting, I'm guessing, but standing, and amongst the fans, sort of towards that second half before the second goal?
No, I don't think so.
The
atmosphere stayed as it is. You know, you've got the guys at the front sort of orchestrating things, but actually before the game even, there was a fairly large group of 15 younger guys in the rows, the couple of rows in front of us, and they were starting their own singing as well. And it continued all the way through. I don't think the atmosphere dropped at all. And I noticed myself thinking, oh, they had another chance. We need to be a bit careful. But I don't think that it was shown in the crowd. No, I think everyone just kept going behind the team.
It's a nice novelty at the moment, and we can talk about it again, talking about the San Marino game, and that these games are now selling out. This is 32,500 for a Finland game, which these always used to be when Spain, France, Germany would come to town. But we're getting sellouts for Slovenia, San Marino, probably Denmark in the autumn. And this is, I mean, yes, there is that element of the crest of the wave. This started kind of 5 or 6 years ago with the Nations League campaign, the Euros, and all this momentum that's been building up. And now you're looking at, I don't know if there's science involved or anything, but the support behind the Finland national team is unlike anything there's been before, and on a huge scale. And yes, relative success plays a massive part in that. People look at, Finland have been generally doing very well over that period of time, but the amount of kids there, people of all ages, people who were going to Finland games in the past. I mean, when I started going to Finland games, you were lucky if they were getting 12, 13,000 for a dismal 1-0 defeat to Hungary. I think Miksu's last game was one of the ones I was at in 2015. And it was just horrible. The stadium was a third full. No, everyone was thinking, oh, God, here we go again. But now there's such an atmosphere there that the SMU core, 21 years, I think it is now, of what they're doing. And it's really paying off. And the link between the players, the staff, the coaches, and the fans now is enormous. It's brilliant to see, and it's not manufactured at all. I mean, this again was something that they were trying to do when Hetemäki was getting the megaphone after a game before this when Finland were losing. But you can see it is a big thing now. And
I think the science behind it, Rich, is the fact that Finns love to support their country in anything, especially when they're doing well, and they are doing well. And I think that Palloliito's kausikortti, season ticket for this season, was a really good idea. And I don't know, it's this weekend particularly, it's the right time of year. It's warm, summer holidays have started, kids are off, so it's easier to get the kids down for these games, and they want to see these players. What I wondered is if that crest of the wave had peaked a couple of years ago, and that not qualifying for the World Cup might knock it back, but it seems to have just paused for a moment, and now it's back, and it seems bigger than it was before.
Yeah, I mean, Ali, you say you're hoping to get tickets for the game. Get them soon, because I think at this rate that we're going to be struggling.
Yeah, I said that to my friend who I booked the Denmark tickets with. I sent him a message about an hour before recording saying, also, we need to keep an eye on the Northern Islands in particular as well, because where that's going to fit in the schedule, and maybe we'll talk about the fixtures a little bit later on, it could be a really, really crucial game.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, that game is the next games are in September, October, November. And I think the success of the spectacle of these two recent games is encouraging more people to think, hey, I want some of that. And actually, I should have done this at the very beginning, is to give a little shout out to Lady Satu's friend, Elena Maria, who joined us on Friday. She wanted to go to the game. She tried to get a ticket, and it was €70. And she thought that was a bit steep. So she joined Asamiko and bought a ticket in the Pohjois-Karjala for her first ever game. and it was cheaper. And she loved it. And we met her again the day after, and she said, I bought my ticket for Denmark already. Now we're not going there, so goodness knows who she's going in there with. But welcome, Elena Maria. You're very welcome in that area, and enjoy that game.
I think also the marketing department of the Huuhkajat deserve a bit of a raise as well. That they really do a fantastic job of not only covering the game but also, sending out those videos, whether it's a story or whether it's a post of the fans and before the game, during the game, after the game, and those sort of. It's a very loud motorbike going past in London. But those sort of videos really do encourage people because, like you said, Mark, people look at those sort of things and they go, God, I want a bit of that. That looks really fun. So they definitely deserve a good shout out as well.
Well, Mikko Leitonen, the marketing manager, he gave an interview, I think it was to Yle during the week, about FOMO, fear of missing out, being one of the drivers, and a lot of people want to say they were there, and well, of course, wanting to be there as well. But a lot of people, it's like a social thing, isn't it? It's where were you when, and going back to in the lead up to the San Marino game, put a couple of videos out of previous meetings with Finland and San Marino, and one of the games they played, I think it was the first time Finland ever played a home game in December, and it was 1994. And it was qualifying for Euro 96, and they had 3,000 people in the Olympia Stadion for Finland San Marino. And Mixu Patalainen scored all 4 goals, but only I think it was about 3,500 people were there.
And didn't Mark H say that he was there and it was like minus 16 or something like that?
I think that was the other one. That was the one in 2010. When,
okay.
That was, I think there was about 10,000 there, but that was Jari Litmanen's last game. But it was. Yeah, I mean, looking at it now, the Denmark game's almost sold out, and I believe they're putting another few bunches of tickets on sale in 6 weeks or so, and they're waiting for Denmark. But yeah, and then after that, you've got Northern Ireland and Kazakhstan at home as well, and they're at this rate are going to sell out as well. So, if you're interested, get your tickets now.
Well, let's take let's pause for a little break. But before we do, let's chuck a little cliffhanger in there that we'll come to, because in the preview show last week, I said that I was excited to see Daniel Håkans join the squad, former SC Seinäjoki striker, winger, whatever a position is nowadays, and that I hoped that he might get on the pitch as a sub against San Marino. Well, I said that he's good with the ball. He's good running with the ball at his feet, and started making a few goals for Asiko last year as well. And he came on in the game against Slovenia, so that was a nice surprise. And he came on again in the game against San Marino. But we'll talk about that after I try and sell you 1 or 2 t-shirts. Okay, so I thought in honor of my weekend in Helsinki watching the Huuhkajat that I would show the Helsinki t-shirt. Remember, this year the team colours focus a little bit more on the town rather than the actual team themselves. This one just happens to be in Huuhkajat Helsinki colours, lovely blue and white there. And if I take you into the logo, taking the away colours to just highlight the Finnish football show and the year 2023. They're only available this year, and showing just one of the ladies' styles there. Pricing, as always, we don't control, but there have been some. There are actually regular discounts, and every time you order one of the shirts, brings a few euros to the Finnish football show just to help us with some of the running costs. And they're not all starting at €29.99. I think the classic t-shirt, €25, often available for 18, something like that. So keep your eyes open. Satu and I were wearing coordinating Suomi t-shirts to the game on Friday, and you can see pictures of those on my Instagram and Facebook if you can be bothered. Rich, tell us about the Buy Me a Coffee. Wow.
Yeah. So Buy Me a Coffee is another little pot that we use for funding our various schemes, normally for website hosting, Zoom conference calls, Instagram adverts, all that sort of stuff. But it's a little contribution. We've had some very generous ones over the years. Chuck a couple of quid in our hat just to keep going this busking that we're doing. But yeah, it's yeah, the links in the on the website. But yeah, a couple of quid, couple of euros. That'll yeah, keep the gas man at bay.
Certainly will. Okay, second half starting, and this was Finland 6, San Marino 0. And I think what we should do at the end of this is look back on the predictions that some of us made last week. But Ali, before we get into the game itself, just talk us through the starting lineup and how it was different to the previous game.
Absolutely. Just bear with me one sec. I've got it right here. Here we are. So yeah, I think when the lineup was sort of released, we all again had a similar sort of reaction, which was, okay, we're going for it, which is nice, which is great, particularly when you're playing San Marino. I think it does sometimes feel like there is only really one option, but you know, he went with a lineup that I think we were all really happy with. I think just looking at the breakdown that I've got, that you know, you had Alho, Ivanov, Thomas, and Uronen at the back, and then Suhonen, Schüller, Kamara. So Kamara obviously coming back in, and then you know, this is at least according to UEFA TV, Chalman, Poyampalo, and Ant-Man up front. So
that's how it was. That's how it was kind of published by
yeah
as well. So
yeah, I think we can safely assume that 4-3-3 was the intended lineup. And I think, you know, if you're not going to experiment and try a new formation out against San Marino, when are you going to try a new formation? And I think, you know, we all knew that we were expecting to win. It was just about by how much. Are Finland used to putting 5, 6, 7 past anyone? No, not at all. I think we were hoping for 2 or 3 at least. Any more than 3 is always going to be a bit of a bonus, but yeah, racking up 6. We did have to wait a little while for that first goal, but I think in this group where it feels like no one really wants to win it, or we're all expecting Denmark to pull ahead and then Finland, Slovenia, Kazakhstan probably competing for second place, but as Denmark are sort of, you know, dropping points here, there, and everywhere, it feels like getting 6 at home to San Marino might be really important at the end of the campaign.
I think that's true. And you're right. The first goal came in the 16th minute, but San Marino had a shot on target in the 11th minute.
Yeah.
I think we joked last week, Rich, that, you know, I said, I think 4-1. And you were like, oh, it's like, you like England letting in that early goal. And I said, well, I hope not. But I certainly didn't expect them to have the first shot on target. And the San Marino fan Twitter account, it was hilarious. It tweeted, you know, we had a shot on target. Come on, boys, we got this. And when I was looking at the tweet, literally in front of my eyes, the likes were going ding, 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 ding. So that was clearly going round. That
the whole country glued to their phone.
wild optimism. But the goal came. The first goal came in 16 minutes. Rich, from Glenn Kamara. Talk us through that one.
I mean, it was a lovely taken goal, wasn't it? A little 1-2 on the edge of the box, and Kamara cutting in sort of on the left-hand side. Again, not the kind of forward run that you often see from him, but you bear in mind it's San Marino. And this was the kind of the benchmark, really, where, you know, a player who's looking, he's got a point to prove, but at least, you know, he missed the last game. He's come in here, and it was a nicely taken sort of finish, quite near to the keeper. And I think that the ball from the 1-2 was Schüller, wasn't it? And it was really nicely taken. And I think that was, and I you know, blowing my own trumpet, but in the preview pod last week, you know, it was San Marino will be putting 10, 11 behind the ball, and you need to have those kind of intricate precision plays, the 1-2s, the ability to make space and runs in behind, and it's that opened them up really, because I think before that, like you said, San Marino had a shot on target first, and the English commentary that I had on here was a little bit astounding. Like, oh my god, taking into consideration the quality of the shot that it was, but even so, it was a shot on target. And this is Kamara really doing what he does best. It's getting the ball and driving forward, and he's not the defensive ball winner destroyer type, and maybe Schuller is more of that, but they're playing 20-30 meters further into the opposition territory than they would be normally, and you have to do things a little bit differently. And I think, just as a statement of intent, and again, San Marino aren't exactly going to concede one and then come out swinging, but to go and do that, and was it shortly after? I think it was still 1-0. Schuller hit the post from long range. Again, the sort of goal that you need to take against San Marino if they're parking the bus. But it was nice just to see. I think Kamara is only his second goal for Finland as well, so it's nice for him. Schuller still hasn't scored one, and was very, very close himself.
Yeah, one of you mentioned before about how there are a lot of kids going to the game and wanting to go to the game, and I think ticket prices had incentivized families to come along. And to add to that environment, there was a young child on the PA system for the entire game, announcing, maybe not announcing the substitutions, but certainly announcing the goals, and calling out the name of the player that had scored, and then the crowd would sort of shout their surname, and that was quite cute. One thing that I hadn't really realised before the international game is when they do the name, Glenn Kamara, and then after it's done 3 times, then the PA announcer says Kiitos, and then the entire Pohjois-Carre says Ole Hoover. It's quite funny. Nice bit of theatre, a bit of pantomime there.
It's the same at the Huuhkajat games as well, but I have a feeling that they stole it off the national team rather than the other way around.
With the thank you and Ole Hoover as well. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That was the bit that was new for me. I like that.
But there was a lot of buzz around the young girl. I think it's Ara was her name, and she's obviously found her calling in life. I mean, whether this will go out before, but on Thursday evening, VGS are playing in the Suomen Cup, and she's doing the announcing for them. I think it was their hat that she was wearing at the game on Monday night. So she's doing the announcing for them in a Suomen Cup game on Thursday night. So, we may have a budding, I don't know, are there any famous pitchside announcers these days? But even so, she might be a celebrity in the making.
Yeah, seems to be. And you mentioned, Rich, about Schuller hitting the post, and there was a period of 5 minutes with a few chances for Finland as the pressure really started to build. And then, Ali, that led to the second goal in the 39th minute from Benjamin Chelman. Yeah,
and a great ball by Rob Ivanov from left wing. I don't know what he was doing over there. But hey, mate, he's adding a string to his bow, clearly, because, he found himself out on the left wing. Whipped it was quite a hard ball to defend. I don't care if you're San Marino or
it was a terrific
if you're
cross.
Spain. It was a really, really good ball, and Chalman just have to get his head on it. I mean, it was still a fantastic finish, because you do have to put those away, because there was some pace whipped on that cross. But and again, it came at a really good time. Because I think, if you're winning 1-0 against San Marino, of course, everyone's still going to think, when is the second goal? But you still have to get that second goal. San Marino aren't going to score 2 at any given point. We get worried about a shot on target, but they did get a shot on target. And, all it needs is a dodgy deflection or a ricochet, here, there, and everywhere. Then, you could concede a goal. But really good time, really good assist from Ivanov. And, an excellent finish for the second goal.
And into halftime, 2-0 up. And in the halftime show on Yle, I saw a Finland flag with East Midlands Massive written on it in English. Any idea
That's
who
been
that
there. That's been
is?
there for years.
Has it?
Yeah, I'm sure someone told me this once. It's to do with Derby. I think it was
Right. Okay.
like a fan from Derby years ago. But that's been at Finland games for as long as I've been watching them.
Well, see, I'm
Um,
normally when I'm at the
yeah,
game, I'm behind those, obviously, and
yeah.
I don't know what made me pay attention this time, but I just happened to sit still rather than run into the fridge in the bathroom during half time and saw it.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of staples. I'm sure someone told me years ago. I might have to go back and find. But yeah, that's been there for as long as I've been watching, and it's always
Okay.
an amusing one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, then into the second half. 60 minutes saw a kind of rash of substitutions. Robert Taylor came on for Schuler, Teemu Pukki came on for Pohjanpalo, and the aforementioned Daniel Håkans came on for Ant-Man. And what then followed was 10 minutes of absolute bedlam. I couldn't get my notes tapped into my phone quick enough from watching the highlights to the next goal and the next goal. But it kind of became the Daniel Håkans show, Rich.
Yeah. Again, I think first goal came 5 minutes after he came on, and celebrated. It was nicely taken one as well, and he celebrated with the cha cha cha
Yeah,
from
it did. Yeah,
Eurovision
that
that
was
we
nice.
talked about. It was nice. I mean, a lot of the talk in the build up again about him was how quick he is. I think one of the articles I read that he's recorded some of the quickest sprint times in training
Right.
of any
Okay.
Finland player, and it's interesting. You know, he's one of these sort of generation of players who've been academy trained from day one, who kind of play in that not quite midfielder, not quite striker, a little bit wide, you know,
Mm.
the kind of floaty type. Um, but his form, Asiko going to Norway and now coming into this, you know, over the last sort of year, 18 months, I mean, what a transformation he's had. Um, and, you know, I think now, you know, jumping past the hat trick, but he's played 55 minutes of international football and has scored 3 goals.
Yeah.
It's if he carries on at that rate, who knows where we'll end up? But
You say Ant-Man's got 5 in 4. Well,
we've got four goals in six now.
4
But
in 6. Okay. Okay.
4 and 6 now, yeah. But Hawkins has 3 and 2 or three in
Yeah.
55 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, they're setting a standard. But yeah, I think one of the goals, which was the one that he ran through and messed. I can't even remember now. They all get jumbled
That
up.
Well,
was
the
for the
first,
hat trick one,
let's
wasn't
describe
it?
it.
was the yeah.
Let's describe the
Okay.
goals because they came in quick succession. And the
Mm.
first one was a sort of loose back pass that he latched onto and
Yeah,
sort of made it himself towards the left side of the penalty box and just sort of drove it past the keeper.
Mm.
There was plenty of space to hit it in. That was the 65th minute. Then the 72nd saw some really nice play from Robert Taylor driving forward, giving the ball to Pukki, and he crossed it, and it was in the 6-yard box. Kind of, I think the first attempt got blocked, and then Hawkins sort of spun and hit it home from close range. And literally, then I was still typing the notes when the third goal went in, and that was another one fed where Teemu Pukki broke and fed the ball to Hawkins for him to drive that one home for a hat trick in 9 minutes.
Well, yeah, and the stats people of Finnish football were going a little bit mad. I think that was the fastest ever hat trick by a Finland player.
Yeah.
The previous record was 101 years ago, where someone got 14-minute hat trick.
Yeah.
And that was the first hat trick by a Finland player since that San Marino game in 2010. With Mikkel Forsell got a hat trick. And I think there's only been 9, I think, hat tricks.
9 or 11,
Finland.
yeah, not many.
Like that,
That's true.
Well, nine players have scored hat tricks for Finland. So Hawkins has joined that merry crew. And when you think Pukki hasn't, Pohjanpalo hasn't, you know, that's of the current crop, and he did it in 9 minutes. And you know, I'll remove any caveat San Marino, but yeah, I mean, what what a fairy tale.
Well, at least 2 of those other hat-tricks came against San Marino as well. So if they count, then this one counts.
Exactly. I think both of
He couldn't have wished for a better, like when, you know, he went to bed the night before. That's exactly how he would have dreamt it, I think. I mean, maybe a 30-yard volley in off the bar could have been the third goal. But yeah, he's definitely an exciting player. And as Rich, as you said, he's got a lot of pace. And I think we lack that. We're quite desperate for someone that, you know, can run past a player at ease and, you know, carry on and yeah, beat players. So I think even if he's not a starter, because obviously, you know, he's still only 22, we don't want to rush or put too much pressure on him this early, but a really good option to have if we're, you know, if we need a goal.
I think it's quite interesting that from a year ago, you have Marcus Forss and Onni Valakari, who were getting regularly into the squad and in Valakari's case, onto the field quite often, that are both out at the moment. And Håkans has come in and sort of said, if you want this shirt back, you're going to have to go some to get this back from me.
This is the thing, that the competition for places in those forward positions now, you know, people coming in and grabbing it, Ant-Man, Håkans in particular, but, you know, other players have come in and had these little cameos. I mean, remember when Forss, 2020, that game in Paris?
Yeah,
Forss and Valakari both scored in their debuts, and yet they can't get in the squad now. And it's, I mean, it's great to have that strength in depth.
Yeah.
And going forward, you know, again, Pukki's not getting any younger, but other than that, you know, the rest of that kind of attacking midfield forward line are potent. You know, Chalman's scoring plenty as well. Pohjanpalo's playing really well at club level, and now, you know, again, all we needed to do with him is keep him injury free, and he will score goals. And he had a full season in Italy, and he was banging them in. So
six goal scorers of 8 goals over those two games.
Yeah, again, spreading them out. And who'd have thought, you know, at the start of this, if you go in and say Finland have scored, is it 10 goals after 4 games and Pukki's only scored 1? It's, I mean, he's assisted, I think, 5 or 6. But
yeah, I was going to say, he got a couple more assists in this game, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was 6 in the end. Yeah. So again, that's just going to show, you know, there was a big panic, and, you know, we were privy to some of it about what would happen when, after that Euro 2020 team start fading away. You know, the defence went first. Tim Sparv didn't come back after that. But, you know, slowly but surely that momentum, you know, the World Cup qualifying campaign, it wasn't a complete bust, but, you know, there were some good moments there. But again, you know, the benefit of Nations League over friendlies keeps that competitive edge, to give the momentum going, that little bit, you know, yes, they're not as good as a qualifying, but they keep, and you're playing teams of a similar quality. And again, you're coming into a game against Slovenia, who are realistically about a par with Finland, if we're honest. And then we see in the game that evening that Slovenia drew with Denmark at home, which is a great result for Slovenia and realistically for Finland. But
yeah,
it also, but then the issue with that is it also means that it's a reminder that Slovenia is a tough place to go. And then Finland still have Denmark at home to come in the next international window. So, you know, while Finland and Kazakhstan are top of the group at the moment, you know, there are 4 teams looking for those 2 spots. And even though Kazakhstan have the safety net of a playoff place, and Denmark were lucky to get the win on Friday against Northern Ireland, because that goal got chalked off. So it's yeah, I mean, Finland have put themselves in a really good position here, but yeah, there's still a long way to go.
Before we wrap up, we should really mention Teemu Pukki, because he came on in 60 minutes with Håkans and with Robert Taylor, and in his half an hour appearance, set up 2 goals and then scored the final one himself, with Nikolai Alho challenging on the right hand side of the box, and the ball breaking to Teme for him to drive home the 6th and final goal for a pretty damned effective weekend for him.
Yeah, and that's his 38th goal for the men's team now, so extending his record. And I guess
how far ahead is he now, Rich?
I think the other one was, I think Forsell was 32. So yeah, but to me, Pookie broke it was about 18 months ago, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
he's on 38 now. And we're at the point now that the international window's shut. I think we're probably looking imminently at his transfer for the US to be announced. I think he's expected to go to Minnesota and join Robin Lod. So
Okay.
it's a fair play to him. He's earned
Yeah,
it.
very, very much so. Ali, do you have the table there in front of you?
I do. Bear with me one sec.
Would you like to just talk us through the current standings?
Yes. So where are we? I had it here a second ago, but whilst I'm just bringing it up,
Whenever you need it, it disappears.
yeah, it vanishes. I even did a screenshot of it and everything. But yeah, just whilst I'm bringing the table up, just looking at the fixtures, the remaining fixtures. I mean, I'm always a warrior when I look at fixtures. I'm so glad football isn't played on paper, because if it was for me, I'd have sleepless nights all the time. The next three games are massive. Away to Kazakhstan, home to Denmark, away to Slovenia. If we can get through that with a victory here, the odd point here and there, I think the final three, it would be ours for the taking. But I'm sure we'll go into detail about those games later on in the year. I now have the table, so it looks pretty good. Finland top with 9 points. Followed closely by Kazakhstan, who are also on 9, so Finland just above on goal difference. Both have played 4 games. Denmark, crucially, have also still played 4, are on 7. Slovenia still on 7 points as well, and then Northern Ireland with 3. San Marino, as expected, with none in 6th place. As I sort of alluded to earlier, it feels like no one wants to win this group, and it is going to go down to probably the final weekend to solve possibly both spots, which is great. For the neutrals watching the game, it doesn't quite help the heart rate at all. But I think, particularly with the last 3 games definitely all being winnable, it feels like if Finland can get to 20 points, so if they can get another 11 points from somewhere, you would hope that would be enough. I mean, what, 10, 11 points from the next 5-6 games, it's doable. I don't think I'm being too optimistic or overly optimistic about that. I think it is doable, but yeah, those next 3 games are huge.
When you look at it, in that Euro qualifying campaign of the 2020, Italy were the top seed and won every game. And then Finland were quite a way behind them in the end. I think there's 17 or 19 points I think they got in the end. I can't remember. But, and again, as you mentioned earlier, the goal difference from the San Marino game, and goal difference and goals scored will be one of the tiebreakers further down the line if teams are level on points. So, the fact that San Marino hadn't been pumped by anyone. I think they'd lost 2-0, 2-0, 3-0 before that, and now 6. That gives Finland an edge of sorts. This is the kind of thing to have in your back pocket for later on. And I think, we've seen that teams are taking points off each other. And this Kazakhstan team, we don't really know how good they are. I mean, they won their Nations League group and they beat Denmark, but historically and even in recent times, they haven't been that good. And it looks like they're one of the teams, especially going there. I mean, that's somewhere. It's a long trip to go there, and that'll be a tough place to go. But Finland have already got Denmark away out the way as well. So, like Ali said, you want to be going into that last international weekend where they've got Northern Ireland at home and San Marino away. I mean, whoever sorted that out did well in terms of the fixtures. when that one was arranged, to the point where, if you want to be going to that San Marino away game, I mean, if you need anything, fine, happy days. But the hard work will have been done at that point. And again, if you're looking at getting ideally 9-10 points from the last 6 games. They'll have really earned them if they get that before then.
Yeah, it has shades of the Liechtenstein game to qualify for the Euros, isn't it? You know, that game was set up quite nicely from a fixtures point of view to you just need to win that game, and then you're through. And yeah, as you said, Rich, the fixture gods have been kind to us. We just need to make sure that we can get through those next 3 and make sure that we have something to finish off.
Yeah, because remember that last campaign after the Liechtenstein game, then everyone got absolutely ratted and had to go to Greece on the Monday night afterwards. And that was, I think Tim Sparv said half the players were still over the limit when they took the field.
Myself and Keke recorded an interview with Juha Pirinen a week or so ago, which hasn't yet come out. And we talked about that. There were some real celebrations after that qualification, that's for sure.
Yes, but it's been. I guess we've got 2.5 months now until the next round of fixtures. But yes, I mean Finland are in about as good a position as they could be, realistically.
Okay, so listener, just a quick recap that Finland's next games at the beginning of September in that international break, away to Kazakhstan on Thursday the 7th. And home to Denmark on Sunday the 10th. And the highlights for the previous couple of games are in the blog post, along with all the info and links to the original sources in the blog post. So wherever you're watching or listening to this, just have a look down below and you'll find the links there. And I think that's it for the Finland's international weekend. But Rich, there's 1 or 2 other Finnish football news items that you wanted to mention.
Basically it's that good time of year for those who like coefficients and seedings and elaborate trips for Finnish teams to all sorts of parts of Europe. So this week, Monday and Tuesday, Tuesday and Wednesday saw the draws for the qualifying rounds of the Champions League and the Europa Conference League. Now Huuhkajat are obviously in the Champions League, having won last year. In qualifying round 1, they've been drawn against Larne of Northern Ireland. In a 2-legged tie there. Should they win that tie, they will then go through to play Molde of Norway, which is a tough one. They knocked Cups out quite emphatically 3 years ago now, I think. And if Huuhkajat lose to Larne, they drop into the Conference League second round, and then that's when it splits into 2 and it's all champions paths and all sorts of nonsense. But they would then play the losers, because that's how it works in here, of Ball Club of Kosovo and Ludogorets of Bulgaria. So again, Huuhkajat always set out their stall to say, right, our goal is to make the group stage of any of the 3 competitions. Last year was the Europa League. So again, the road begins here. Molde will be a really tough game for them. But again, I think last year Huuhkajat had a pretty ropey start, and this was around the time of the year that they started getting their act together. But they still need a centre forward. I guess you want the dates now, wouldn't you? So the dates for the Larne game are, I think they haven't confirmed them yet, but the 11th and 12th and the 18th and 19th of July, and Huuhkajat are at home first. And then in the Conference League, which is, I think that's gone quite mainstream now, isn't it? I mean, your winners have been Roma and West Ham, the 2 editions so far. I mean, we were there first, obviously. Enjoying it massively, but yeah. So you've had three Finnish teams go in there. You've got Honka, who came 3rd in the Veikkausliiga last year. Haka, who won the European playoffs. Honka have been drawn away to Tobol of Kazakhstan. Is Tobol Fiddler on the Roof? And also Haka have been drawn at home to another Northern Irish team in Crusaders. Those are on 13th and 20th of July. Cups go straight into the second round as the winners of the Swarman Cup. They will play the winners of It's either Derry City or HB of the Faroe Islands. That'd be an interesting one. But yeah, also there you've got for the draw for the second round. If Honka win, then they would play FC Basel.
Okay.
And which will be a tough one. Obviously, Basel, formerly, Champions League regulars, and then Haka, if they get through, I've been drawn against Rosenborg, who are
Another big,
Champions
quite
League
big name, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Champions League regulars of the kind of 2000s, really, weren't they? They were there
Yeah.
every year. So it's tough for them. I think again, Cup's benefiting from both winning the cup and being seeded because they've done quite well in Europe over the last 2 or 3 years. So again, it'll be fun. I think the Northern Ireland should be a nice place to go, and then Ireland for Cups if that's how that works out.
Rich, can you send me any links that you've got relating to where you've been getting that info, and I'll put them in the show notes as well for the listener.
Yeah, I'm the one person who watches the live draw on UEFA.com, so I will.
Well, they're your
send you
handwritten
something
notes
over.
you were reading out
on the back of a fag packet. Yeah, I shall send you some links.
Yeah,
they're all on
perfect.
Wikipedia. Gets updated before anything else. So.
Okay, listener.
Ali,
sorry, Ali.
Yeah, no, I was just going to, before we wrap up, just add a little bit of transfer news, Finns abroad news, just as Keke isn't here. I was just going to mention Rob Ivanov's move to Eintracht Braunschweig. I apologize to any German listeners out there or people that speak German. I've probably butchered that. But a really good move for him. The Bundesliga 2 is one of the best second-tier leagues in Europe, and I think it's a big step up for him, but one that I think he'll do really well over there. And best of luck to him.
And Sauli Väisänen has also moved. He's gone to Odense in Denmark. To do for him because I think did his Italian team get relegated to the 3rd division? Am I right? Or they were in the playoffs for it anyway. I think he was at Cosenza. A good move for him. Hopefully, that's where Nathan Scooter of Toulouse is currently on loan there as well. So it's nice. I think some of these players have stalled. I was surprised even off his contract wasn't renewed at Sparta Poznan, but he's done well. I think Braunschweig were 15th in the Zweite Bundesliga last year, so that's a good standard there. You got some massive clubs there, so it's good. And like we saw, he's more than just a defender from his assist that he did on Monday night.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just going to finish. I was just going to finish off by saying that the Veikkausliiga gets back underway on Tuesday, 27th of June, as a full round of fixtures, and that seems to be a feature this year. There's lots of full programs rather than having games scattered through the week. So everyone plays, and you start to see some real difference in the table after each round, and then again a full round of fixtures the Saturday after as well. So by the time we reconvene, I guess sometime in July, we'll have a different looking Veikkausliiga too.
Hope not.
Yeah, well, you've taken quite a few extra games to get 1 point ahead of Ashikor, Rich. We're hot on your heels. Don't you worry about that.
Well.
Although I think the Tuesday game, Ashikor against Oulu, will be possibly be our final game with our on loan Arsenal goalkeeper, and then, well, who knows what's happening? I certainly don't. So we'll wait and see.
Well, no, but then as you've mentioned a couple of times, Terry Egby, he's off at the under-23 AFCON now as well, isn't he? And attracting interest from overseas with his long throws.
Yeah, well, now he has got a very long throw. Unfortunately, Ashikor have singularly failed to get ahead on any one of them so far this season. But if we can get our act together, there's a potential weapon there.
Well, they scored that goal. I mean, again, it was lucky the keeper got fingers on it. Otherwise, it would have been a goal kick. But that went a little bit viral anyway. And that even the infamous Liverpool throw-in coach turned around and said, if he actually learned to take a throw in properly, I could probably get him to throw it the length of the pitch. I think suggesting his technique is dreadful, but
right. Well,
luckily he scored.
2 comments. One, I stand by my statement that we haven't got our head on the ball because that goal came from the goalkeeper's fingertips. and secondly, apparently Yegbe's only had 4 years of organised coaching so far to get to the 8. What was he, like 21, 22, I think. So yeah, there's a lot to work with, but boy, there's a lot that you can, a lot there already.
Well, without going into Asiko too much again, was he one of the players that's moved as part of the partnership with Asiko and the Ghanaian?
Yeah, is it Vision FC in Ghana? Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was one of those players. Yeah, okay. So maybe that's starting to bear some fruit as well.
Yeah, because I've seen that the fee mentioned for his potential transfer is about €300,000.
Measly. Get out of here with your
get a bit
pocket
more
change.
I'm sure there's probably a clause that they'll have to give a percentage of that to their Ghanaian friends as well.
Yeah, so. quite right. That's how it should. That's how it should work as well. Yeah. But that number that we give a percentage of needs to be much bigger. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, because then Daniel Håkans, I think last year when he was sold, he cited as the first Asiko Academy player or graduate to go off for a fee. Or the first player to go abroad for a fee or something like that. Anyway, so
something like that. And also, I think it was listed or mentioned that it was the second highest transfer fee, and I think the highest was Kogawa, a few years ago. So, but if that's a trend that can continue, then that's a club that's trying to get itself somehow self-sufficient, sustainable, if that's ever possible these days. But can we stop trying to sell Asiko's players? Well, just because you don't want us to be up near the top of the table, it's very unkind.
Should we also mention that Matej Hrdecki's stag weekend and his leprechaun costume he was wearing at the Slovenia game?
Tallest leprechaun he looked like.
He looked quite Irish though, with that little bit of stubble he's got and everything. Yeah.
He's got red hair, yeah. That
got a pot of gold somewhere, hasn't he?
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap it up there. Rich, thanks for joining.
Tell a bit.
Ali, good to speak to you too.
Kudos. Hey.
Thanks a lot. And I guess we'll be back in July with the interview with Juha Pirinen, and then maybe later in July get together and have a look at what's been going on in Veikkausliiga and perhaps those early European games as well.
Love it.
Hey, listener, until next time, thanks for joining us. Bye.
You've been listening to The Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and also on Instagram. See the links in the episode description. You can also connect with the 5 hosts on Twitter, at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, at Escape to Suomi, at Kekkimuleri, and at Mano99. Links to the Finnish Football Show merch stores are also in the episode description.